Greetings, colleagues. Welcome to the Ivory Attic. I'm one of your hosts, Ian Isherwood.
And I'm your other host, Kurt Andreessen. And today we have a very special guest with us. She's come the whole way down from Ithaca, New York. We have with us Nozomi Ando. She's currently a professor of chemistry and chemical biology at Cornell University. Welcome, Nozomi.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This is we keep on. We're trying to continuously just like ramp up prestige with our guests. That's that. So you're part of this ascendance. Although
and our first episode started with just the two of us, so it's just uphill from there.
Let's. Yeah, so wonderful. So Nozomi, I think so you do just to give a quick background. I think remind us just just talk a little bit about kind of where you are right now, how you got there. Just really briefly your background.
Okay, sure. So my education is in physics.
Okay.
So I was a physics major at MIT. Then I went to grad school at Cornell, where I went to grad school with you, Kurt.
Oh, yes, that's right. That sounds vaguely familiar.
Whoa.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm sorry. This we try to really avoid. It's not nepotism. That's with kids. What's the one what is this? I don't know which one it is. But,
kind of bias. I don't know.
But we try to avoid that, but we haven't in this case. So.
Yeah. So I was a physics graduate student. I got my PhD from Cornell, and then I went to MIT to do a postdoc in chemistry and learn about biochemistry.
Excellent.
And then I started my lab at Princeton, and then I moved my lab to Cornell.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, we try to tend to hit sometimes higher prestige places, but you know that we'll deal with these as well. So that's don't feel embarrassed at all about your pedigree. We don't care about that on this podcast. What's something currently like right now in your scholarship that you're just super excited about, that you're really excited about?
Oh, okay, sure. Well, so my student showed me some data that was really exciting to me. I love it when my students show me data. Like we have a Slack channel called What's Scattering, and people just like post stuff that's new.
I love the idea. Like that would be so great to just be a live stream, like you know, like a Twitch channel that's just nothing but random data that no one has any actual idea where that's coming from. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. So I love that. You know, but this wasn't through What's Scattering, but you know, it was kind of a similar idea. And he just told me that, you know, he had cryo-electron microscopy data of a protein that has like 6 identical active sites.
Okay.
And it was thought that they work cooperatively, so they should look identical.
Okay.
But he has data that shows that the protein fluctuates and that the active site is cooperative and not cooperative as it fluctuates.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So the idea is actually like, so he's looking at this pretty large protein.
Yeah.
He's actually seeing correlations between the movements of that. And so, and the technique you mentioned is cryo-electron microscopy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague. Go ahead and explain that to us, Ian.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
So I'm so sorry. I just okay. Well, okay. Maybe you should do it. So really, basically, so a historian can understand what is cryo-electron microscopy?
Cryo-electron microscopy is it's basically like an imaging technique. It's like looking at a microscope, except instead of using visible light, you're using an electron beam. And that allows you to go to higher resolution because you're going to smaller wavelengths.
Oh, cool.
And you have to freeze the samples because to shoot electrons at stuff, you need it to be in ultra fine like vacuum.
Oh, cool. Okay. Wow.
And so you don't want your sample to dehydrate, which all biological samples are. So that's why they have to be frozen.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Okay. So super freezing and then shoot a bunch of stuff at it.
Exactly.
So why don't you just call it like laser microscope?
Well, I mean, we do put the cryo in there, but
frozen laser microscope.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. So I think this should be our first contribution. So this is one thing we haven't talked about actually on the podcast is maybe we should actually be contributing to each field of the person that we're coming into.
Oh.
So like our contribution could be a better name.
A better name.
For cryo-electron microscopy. So freezing cold, shooting stuff, freezing cold. Gun pictures.
Yeah.
That's close, right?
That sounds like some rural area, but yeah.
No, I like that. And I want to go back to a comment I made before, because I really think when I said in a way that a historian could understand it, I was trying to take a pot shot at specifically Ian and not all historians. I just want to make that very clear.
Well, and it's funny because with the disclaimer, you made it worse. So if the historians who listen, which is a key part of our demographic, by the way, because it's not just about science, but if they're actually listening, they're going to, well, if they kept listening, which I doubt they did after that.
They probably turned it off.
Yeah. And now they're really mad.
Yeah, good. Well, that's great. If you have any concerns about that, please feel free to write to no. That's mail at theivoryattic.com. So that's great. Yeah. Are you ready? No, you're looking at me.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. So what's your lab setup like? I mean, I'm always very interested because in the humanities, like we don't have labs, right? Obviously. And we do some collaborative work depending on grants and funding and things like that, but it's usually not the scale that you guys do. So what's your lab setup like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I moved from Princeton, I asked for space where we can have our desks and computers separate from our wet lab space. So we have office space, which
is important because grad students need to be able to eat and drink, and if they're if their desks are in the same place that all the nasty chemicals are, they're not allowed to.
Yeah. Although we always did it.
We'll edit that part out.
Right.
If anyone is in the EPA, please stop listening 10 seconds ago.
Importantly, we have a giant stuffed panda in our what we call our grad office, and it is like a giant panda.
Does the panda have a name?
It does. It's called Panda Pando of the Ando Lab, right?
Yeah.
The Ando Pando. Panda. I can't get it. All right, that's right.
Yeah. And then the wet lab space, we have, we inherited a space that was for a laser lab. And so it's like a big space, and we have like a cold room in it.
Oh, cool. A cold room is a refrigerator you can walk into.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't have any food in there.
Again, I don't know why. Again,
they have those in kitchen nightmares.
I was just saying, going back to the question that you were asking before, I don't know why we have to. I mean, there is the phrase in English that is a walk-in refrigerator. I don't know why we have to call it a cold room, but it does sound more scientific.
It does.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, there's also something called a warm room, which we don't have, which is literally like just a sauna, for bacteria,
Actually, I think all saunas are for bacteria.
Right.
Yes. Anyway, so that's good. So we have now. Do you have a warm room?
No,
you don't.
No, we do not. We do not. We have little incubators for the bacteria.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we have these laser rooms that were converted into like little areas for my lab. So, for example, we study things that are oxygen sensitive, like proteins that have metals that get oxidized. So we have these giant glove boxes where you have stuff inside and you have to, it's really clumsy. You stick your hand in the gloves and then you have to do things and then you have to pull them out to go to the next set of gloves to move to a different section. It makes everything more difficult, but you get to study cool stuff with it.
Yeah, well, that's I think I think you just described science, right? Like we make everything more difficult, but you can study some cool stuff. Maybe all research, actually. That's yeah.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah.
So what got you into physics? What got you into research?
Yeah, so I was. That's a really good question. I was not really interested in science when I was a kid. I liked art a lot more, and I liked playing outdoors a lot. And I really actually didn't even get the concept of school. So when we moved to Japan, I thought we were on vacation. Like I didn't know that we were moving. So I wasn't doing homework very well.
Listen, parents, yeah. I do not do homework on vacation. This is very clear. That must have been an awkward conversation. Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, we were supposed to do homework. But because, we moved, my parents wanted to make sure I didn't get behind in classes. And, we had to switch languages too. So they made sure that I was ahead in math. And so they made me do math. And because of that, I was ahead in math when I went to college. And I didn't want to do a math major, and that's why I chose physics major.
There you go. This second best. No, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So one of the things that, and we'll get to Kurt in just a second because I'm very interested in this graduate school experience. But one of the things I noticed, I was in his office the other day, and I'm a person who can't really do any math. And I know when I say that in front of scientists, they always kind of judge me. They nod their heads. They say something like, "Oh, that's nice," right? Yeah. But I walked into his office, and he had all of these equations on a board, and I said to him, "Is that real? Like, are those real?" And he looked at me and he goes, "What is that?" And he just like stared at it for a while.
Did you falsify?
No, it was a student trying to solve a problem, and like they were doing it in a really strange way. So it was nothing like what I would actually have done. So I actually really was baffled by what I was looking at.
It's very creative math.
No, exactly. Changing like variable names, things like that.
Oh yeah. That's a trick.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a way to confuse people.
So what was he like in graduate school?
Okay, well, he didn't dress this way.
I didn't. That was at the tail of my.
Which we'll come to because everyone has phases.
Yeah, that was the tail of my rusted root phase actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was.
It's a phase I know well.
Yeah, no, I know
Band
you
of
do.
my youth.
I know you do. Yeah. So there was lots of tie dye and a ponytail. Yeah.
That's so funny. I didn't remember the tie-dye as much, but I did remember the ponytail.
Yeah.
Ithaca has a certain look.
Yeah.
Just like slightly hippie, slightly grunge.
I think that was probably part of what pushed me away from the tie-dyes because I probably was trying to...
Is the contrarian side of things.
Right. No, I am. If there's one thing about me, I am always quite contrarian to an absolute fault.
I see.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're trying to kind of get at is, because we're all more than just our research, right? We're more than just the classes that we teach.
We hope.
We hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Though in the last podcast we did, you all said that I wasn't, and I thought that was kind of terrible. But you implied that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But so what brings you joy? What do you like?
Yeah, I have a lot of hobbies. So, but the thing that I have time for right now is cooking and baking and like fermentation projects. So I like
the way that you've called it fermentation projects. Actually,
like brewing.
I haven't done brewing yet, but like making pickles or miso, for example.
Nice.
Yeah. Because
sorry, we just go straight to alcohol.
I won't judge you. No, I would like to do it one day. Oh, I did make plum wine, but that wasn't a fermentation project. That was just
an accident. You just left some plums out too long.
A certain type of experiment. Yeah. But like I like doing things in the lab, and I used to know where everything was in my lab, but then when we moved to Cornell, I had my lab set things up, and now I don't know where anything is. So,
so now you're an actual stranger in your own.
Yes,
place.
exactly. I have to like pull every drawer open to find things, and so I use my kitchen as a lab instead.
Okay, that's good. That's good. What's your So your fermentation product? Are there any other products you have, or any other types of things you like to do in the kitchen?
Well, I don't know. I like to make like really traditional Japanese foods just because the process of figuring out how to do it is fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. What's a good example?
Let's see. Well, I have to think a little bit.
I'm sorry, I'm really putting you on the spot. This isn't the quiz part yet. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, just sometimes it's like finding the special sort of the source. Like bamboo shoots, for example. It's kind of hard to find.
Exactly. That's excellent.
But yeah.
That sounds good. Well, then what? So the other thing, actually, I was curious about because we were talking a little bit earlier, and one thing that I was kind of struck by is I was thinking. So we are at different institutions. We're kind of coming from a small liberal arts college. You're coming from a much larger institution. I'm wondering, and I don't know if you've thought too much about this, but do you get a feel for what do you feel like are the issues that people are really talking about? Like, what are people obsessing about at Cornell? Do you know what I mean? What types of things? What are the conversations that are happening all the time?
That's a really good question. You mean faculty or just anybody?
Yeah, either way, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think a big conversation right now is is actually pay,
Yeah.
so you may have heard recently there was a student strike at the UCs, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that has been like a national conversation. So it bugs me that graduate students and postdocs aren't paid very well, and we have to, but it costs a lot for the faculty to pay for them because we have overhead, which is like a giant tax. Yeah. So at Cornell is 64%. So that's
so 64% of any money that you're paying has to go to
for salaries. Yeah. So which is a lot. And so I wish that money was being spent on salaries. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of an interesting that's an interesting thought too, because I feel like most of your funding, I assume, is coming from large funding sources, right? So like things like national foundations, things like that. Is there any interest from those groups? I to be honest, I have not been following. Like, are there interested in those groups to try to increase that? Because I feel like there's someone who would have a leverage,
right?
NIH and stuff could just say you literally have to pay students X amount, right? And they could do. I mean, that would cause. I would assume a change across all institutions that size.
It could only be possible if they provide more funding. That's the main issue. Yeah. So and it hasn't been sort of keeping up with inflation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's interesting. Okay, cool. Quiz?
Yeah, we could do the quiz.
You ready for the quiz?
You ready for the quiz?
Never, but okay.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
We do the quiz. We've only done this. I'll cut all of this, but do we do the quiz after? I can always rearrange after. Do we do the quiz or do a?
We do quiz first, then we do what's your style?
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
And then we do the drink. Okay. And you don't have to edit this out. You could just keep it in that we don't know what we're doing.
That. Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing. Okay, all right, great. All right, well, wonderful. So now I'm going to put pause here and then see. I can either choose or not choose to edit that. So now Ian's going to bring us to a special segment that we call
Did You Know? The reason it's called Did You Know is because that is such an irritating phrase that's oftentimes uttered by historians or people who are oftentimes uttering it to historians that are saying to us, because when you introduce yourself as a historian, oftentimes it's like probably in science, right? Where you say, oh, I'm a scientist. And then people say, oh, did you know? And, and it's similar in history where like if I'm on a train or something like that and somebody has a seat next to me, sometimes they'll be like, what do you do? And I can't say I'm a veterinarian because then they'll ask me to like...
Yeah, to do actually something
right.
All of a sudden...
They'll talk to me about an
all of a
abscess
sudden
on
a dog
their
trips in
right.
front of you and then they're like, oh my God, we need to report, we need to fix that dog's leg.
When have you seen a dog trip?
I was trying to think of something that could happen on a train. I don't know. They could trip
all these dogs tripping all over the place on trains. Those four legs just aren't enough.
Sometimes it can be slick floors.
Sure. Okay,
maybe if they've roller skates, right?
There you go.
But yeah, sometimes people will be like, "What do you do?" And I'll say the wrong answer, which is I'm a historian, and then they'll say, "Did you know?" And invariably, it's something I don't know.
Well, here's the question: is it right most of the time?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
And I don't want to give
which is appropriate for this quiz, actually.
Well, of course it is. So I was looking through your background. I was looking through your bio and kind of the research you do, and I don't understand any of it. So I was thinking. I said to Kurt, I'm really not in a position to do a good quiz, and Kurt said, "Well, you know what an X-ray is, right?" And he said it in just the most condescending way that you could say it. Like,
I did.
You know what that is? I said, "Yeah, I've had."
I actually thought I was pulling back a bit.
Right.
So kind.
Yeah.
I think I could have gone deeper.
Yeah. And so I said, yeah, I've had them. And then I was about to tell you that I had an MRI, but I didn't want you to ask me to explain what that is because I don't think
I absolutely would have.
Right. Yeah. No metal. That's all I know. No metal.
Yeah. That's what it stands for. It's metal RI.
So my background is I'm a war historian, so I work in the history of warfare. And I was thinking, well, where have I heard of X-rays significantly? And I've heard of them in the context of the First World War, which is the era that I work on. And so I wanted to ask, and it's not a proper quiz question. It's just a conversational quiz question. But as I was doing more research on X-rays in the First World War, I came across something, and my did you know question is, did you know that Marie Curie was like instrumental in bringing in mobile X-ray labs to the front of the First World War in France and Belgium?
I actually did not know that.
No, I had no idea.
I thought I was really concerned that you were going to say, "Did you know that Marie Curie investigated X-rays?" And I was really concerned. I was like, "This is going to really. I'm going to have to respond to this in some way."
That is so cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, it's super cool. Go ahead.
what
please.
were they using the X-rays for?
So, so one of the things, so the First World War is kind of in a period in which, medicine's transformed significantly, like right before the war, with germ theory, and then with X-ray technology, and they start using it a little bit with medicine right before World War I. But then at the outbreak of the war, Marie Curie realizes that because she knows something about X-rays, an awful lot about
a thing or two, yeah.
Right. So she raises or from what I was reading, raises a bunch of private funds to then create more X-ray labs to be able to help soldiers, so that when soldiers are hit with shrapnel or were hit with bullets, that they can actually
they could actually see
them.
Oh, that's
right.
cool.
And also see broken bones and things like that, or concussions or things like that. So very interesting. And so she gets some funding, and then she sets up these mobile radiology labs that are on cars. So they're like big vans that they set up, and they took those to hospitals actually at the front, and then they would do X-rays at the front in these kind of trucks.
That's crazy. Where did they? I mean, like, I assume they're using film to do this. So, like, where did they?
Yeah.
Where did?
Well, I think they used fluorescent screens at the time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Well, that's how Röntgen found
Oh, I didn't know
discovered X-rays. But did you know?
Oh man! Man!
Did you know that they didn't know what the X-rays were, and that's why it's called X-rays.
Really?
X
There
as
you
in
go.
like
Just as in we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Mystery
No
X.
idea what it was. Yeah. Yeah, but I was fascinated by this because
That is good.
Yeah, well, and then she and her daughter, I guess, spent most of the war working in these X-ray labs. So
That is amazing.
yeah.
No,
Wow.
that's great.
Wow.
Now I will say,
See, I just became one of those guys on a train.
you did, and also you
which
actually,
is the goal of the segment.
Yeah, when you also violated the actual rule, which is that it's supposed to be a quiz that she has to answer. So I guess the answer is, did you know that?
No, I did not know
All right, that is correct. That is correct. You have won. You have won the quiz.
Oh, yes. I won this drink.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We may have after a certain episode gotten excited about mint flavored drinks from a certain place that we're not going to name because they haven't paid us.
Because they haven't paid us for a great idea that we gave.
For the great idea that we gave. But we may be drinking green mint colored shakes right now.
Yeah. And it's much better than I thought it would
It's
be.
actually quite good.
It's quite good.
It's quite good.
And
it's very minty.
it is. And but you're right. The outside of the container did smell like a hamburger.
Yeah, it was a little.
It was a little
too much.
strong.
As I will say, as someone who thinks a lot, and we will be thinking a lot about cocktails and how they taste. The nose is an important. The nose is an important part of that, and having a nose of hamburger while sipping meat actually is not fantastic. Although it's actually very related to our idea.
Yeah.
What if that smell is actually the smell
of a lamb burger?
Of a lamb burger.
Lamb burger with the mint.
Yeah, a lamb burger with the exactly. So maybe that's
quite
what it
good.
is. All right, wonderful. So the next segment is called
What's Your Style?
What's Your Style? Ian, we've set up the contract such that he has to actually introduce all this, all the actual segments.
Oh, okay.
So in What's Your Style, we'd like to think about kind of the interplay between how people dress and their jobs, which we just find kind of an interesting thing. So, I'd like to start out with, do you feel like there's a specific way that you dress to like go into lab versus going into teaching versus like, are there like different ways that you actually approach that?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably don't differentiate it enough, honestly.
I love it. It's a classic science answer. It's good. I like it.
I'm known to wear hoodies sometimes,
Okay,
but I also try to look like an adult.
Now, are the
times.
hoodies?
Yeah.
Are the hoodie? Is the hood up? I think this is an important aspect of it.
Sometimes.
Okay. all
Sometimes.
right. So you come into the lab like a sullen teenager with the hood up, saying like, "Yeah, I like that."
It's comforting.
With the earbuds
It's comforting.
Yeah, exactly. Earbuds
in, hood up.
That's good. That's
Yeah, and it has to be extra, extra large. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. I like this. So one thing I was curious about, and it's something actually that I think we've talked a little bit about, and I've talked with other scientists, specifically female scientists. Do you feel like the challenge of having to figure out how to dress as a female scientist? Like, what do you? I mean, this is a big. I know it's a big subject, but I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it is harder to find clothes that are comfortable and give you that sort of authority that you need.
Right.
So it's more of a struggle for sure.
Yeah.
Having said that, so when I started my faculty position, I was like, maybe I should dress like a professor. And it lasted for
that's
about
what
2
we
weeks.
That's what we did, and we just never stopped. We were just like,
Yeah,
apparently I'm
mine
a professor
was the
now.
professor who was on TV.
Right? That was actually both of us. We were basically like, apparently we're professors now, so like we should dress like a professor. Yeah.
No, you guys have great style. You do. But I did that for a couple of weeks, and I realized that I can't be who I'm not. And so I just try to embrace being the young professor.
Yeah. I love that.
And I think you just have to have you have to build internal confidence.
Yeah.
So I get mistaken for a student still,
is that right?
sometimes, yeah, which was sometimes beneficial. Like at Princeton, I used to wear my hoodie to get a student discount on food.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, I didn't want to pay more than $1.25 on hot dogs.
So all of you Princeton professors there, this is a tip for you. Throw a hoodie on and the $1.25 hot dogs, all you can eat. Yeah.
I would love it when my students would get carded and I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's happened to me at the liquor store, but it's the opposite.
Yeah.
That's great.
There are definitely benefits to being but you do want to be taken seriously. And I find that it is kind of annoying sometimes when you're at conferences and people think that you're a student, and then you have to give a talk before people know that you know something.
You actually do really know what you're doing.
But I decided not to be bothered by it as much as possible, and then just try to do my best, so then they're surprised.
That's great. I love it.
And that's great, and that's such a nice statement about authenticity too, about how you feel. And this is something that Kurt and I've talked about in this attic quite a bit. Is how you want to be comfortable with what you're wearing, but you also want it to reflect who you are and who you think you are. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that's actually why I think I think we talked about this in the first episode. That's part of why we actually started this segment. Is the idea of it's a fun thing to think about, because I think everyone at some point thinks about what they're putting on, whatever decision they come to. I think it's really interesting at how every one of us kind of balance this idea of some of this is about comfort, some of it's about what I'm presenting to the outside world and how I'm going to be perceived and things like that. So I think that's good.
And especially when you're younger faculty, I mean, you're right. So much of it is, you are worried about how at least I was certainly about how I was looking in front of people because of that sense of, you feel a little bit like you're playing a role.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Well, and I will say, for me, I feel like I've never stopped playing that role. It still, I always, this would be curious. I don't know about you, Nozomi, but for me, I actually do kind of there's Professor me, and then there's not Professor me. And there's a lot of overlap between the two of them, but there's definitely, the Professor me is a different person. It's definitely there are aspects of it where I'm like, oh, now I'm the professor in front of the class. I think so.
Yeah, I think that's normal. Yeah. Definitely, I'm a different person at home.
Yeah. No, exactly.
But I think both sides of me are me, though.
Oh, that's man. That's okay. Now that's gonna get. Now I had to think about that. Which side is more me? Right. Is the real me the home me, or is real me the other one.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I mean, my son calls me Dr. Isherwood. It's a good functional Victorian.
He has office hours.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, son. I would love to talk to you, but actually, my office hours are from 6 to 7.
Yeah, so please come back with your
so
Legos.
if you come back, I can help you with your Lego issue. Also, I will point out that we did talk about this last week, and I had assumed you were taking notes. All right, wonderful. I think that's great. I think we're going to take a quick break.
And
then we'll get to some cocktails.
Nice.
Awesome.
Hi, welcome back to the Ivory Attic. Kurt is going to be making some cocktails as part of our segment, Kurt's Cocktail Corner, but something that came up during the break was the subject of shoes, subject of footwear, which is something that I'm very fond of in particular.
I can tell.
Thank you.
Yes, you guys are both wearing very nice shoes.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. So you like shoes. You said you have many pairs.
I do. I have probably like at least 40.
Wow.
Yes. How many do you have?
I don't know. I've never counted them. And I'm slightly embarrassed now. but more than I probably should, actually. More than I need, but I love shoes.
It's not that hard to get 40 pairs of shoes,
No.
I think. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different activities.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of different
Yeah.
outfits and things like that. So,
I'm not
All right,
counting my sneakers, though.
I had to come over here just to. Yeah, I was in the middle of actually making the cocktails, but I want to put E on the spot. You said probably too many shoes. I want you to put down a number. What do you think is the correct number?
oh man. So I was. So
All right, I'm going to go back to making my cocktail. I just want to insert that.
So a few years ago, somebody said to me that that a gentleman should have no more than 2 pairs of dress shoes, one in brown and one in black.
Okay.
And I was so appalled at that.
Yeah.
But it made me feel like incredibly insecure at the same time, because I was thinking to myself, like, do I really only need 2? What would my life be like if I only had 2, right? So I'm not sure what the correct number is. I mean, that's a difficult thing because there's all kinds of different activities. There's all kinds of different things that you do. And if you've hobbies, right? So like one of my hobbies that I absolutely loathe that came up in the last podcast was running. And I have a lot of pairs of running shoes because after 400 miles or so, you need to kind of stop running in them. But then you just kind of keep them as kind of kick around shoes, right? But then for some of my other hobbies, I have other pairs of shoes. You play soccer. You have cleats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One pair. I'm not saying I don't have a few pairs of shoes. I would just want you to give a number.
So I can't. 40 though. So
Yeah.
are these split up for different events, different sorts of things that you do, or
40 pairs of heels, just all heels.
Really?
So I have other shoes as well.
so just heels?
yeah.
That's,
Yes.
That's amazing.
I had to stop because I was like, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking at them mainly instead of wearing them.
So I don't find that ridiculous. I find that it's a collection, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want them in every color,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could totally see that. This is going to justify me buying more shoes now.
Do you have black shoes? I'm
Yes.
curious. Okay. So you look like a brown shoes type of person, but you have black shoes as
Yeah.
well.
So. So you need black shoes for just more formal events.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
And for certain suits, just don't look right if you
Yes.
if you wear brown shoes with them. So if you're wearing a dark gray suit or black suit or something like that, sometimes black shoes are just they look much better. But yeah, so I think I only have one pair of black dress shoes, but most of my shoes are in browns. But that's just because I think Kurt and my aesthetic is more of a brown shoe kind of aesthetic. So, and we live in the country.
We do live in the country. That's the whole thing. I mean, if
I
we
love
were
brown shoes.
if we were
How's that country?
if we were in London,
No brown in town.
no, yeah, exactly. All right, so we have a cocktail in front of us.
Okay.
Nozomi, can you remind? Can you tell just a little bit about the process through which we got to this cocktail and the name eventually? Yeah.
Yes. So, Kurt, you asked me to come up with a name for a cocktail that describes our research, and so I don't drink that much. I don't drink cocktails when I do drink. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my students come up with some names, and I posted this on our Slack workspace, and then within half an hour, there's like a list of 20 names or something.
Those are good students.
Yeah, no. There were a lot of good names. Yeah, it was.
A couple of them are procrastinating. Yeah, they admitted they were like, we don't want to be writing our thesis right now. So
could they include it as an appendix? I think that'd be a good appendix. Yeah.
It was hilarious what they came up with. Some of them are cannot be repeated here. But yes.
Exactly. And the one we landed on was
72-hour beam time.
The 72-hour beam time. So for those who don't spend a lot of time at large X-ray facilities, just explain the significance of a 72-hour beam time. Yeah.
So beam time is the name that we give for when we're allotted time at the synchrotron, this X-ray facility, to do our experiments, and usually it's some multiple of 8 hours.
Right. Okay. Because at some point you had to divide the day out some way. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And some of our beam times are 72 hours. And it's on the whole time. The X-rays are on, and you have to use as much of it as possible.
Yeah. So normally you do. We used to do. So it sounds like you do 8-hour shifts. So basically rotating through. Normally, like 6 people in 2-person shifts? Is that how you do it? Or?
Oh, so people have to be there? You just can't?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can't just turn it on.
Okay.
You can't just turn it on.
You have to be there, yeah.
You got to be there the whole time.
It's a whole experience, yeah.
And you're more active than you would want to be, I would say. Like if it was just you're kind of like babysitting something, that's one thing. But you're actually normally constantly like checking data as it's coming in to make sure it's fine. And so, it's like 3 a.m. in the morning. You're like looking at graphs and trying to decide whether or not this will allow you to write your thesis next fall, like in a month, or whether or not you're going to have to, wait until another year when you get your next beam time. So it is.
When you said you're more active than you would think, I thought people were just doing push-ups and things.
Well, you have to do that sometime. I also did some of this research when we were at the Advanced Photon Source. In Chicago, or right outside of Chicago.
Band names. Advanced Photon Source.
It's really good. It's really good. So when we were at the one in Chicago, so the ring of like where they pull X-rays out of is so long that they actually have small tricycles. That
they're not like small, like they're not like absurdly small.
This is not that children ride around it. No, it's they are like more industrial tricycles. I don't know that you can put equipment in, but bigger than a big wheel. So
like a big
wheel, exactly, and with a basket in the back, so you can put heavy equipment in it.
This isn't real.
I couldn't possibly make this up.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. So when you get really tired at about 2 a.m. in the morning, what you normally do is you jump on one of these things and do a lap.
It's true, and sometimes race people.
Yeah, you do races. Yeah. We've done races. We used to do timed laps. So we.
Which is not allowed, not recommended, but
it turns out that not a lot of people were paying attention to who's obeying the regulations at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
all the people who actually pay attention to that have gone home.
Yeah.
So the 72-hour beam time is you had a very specific request with this part, which I really enjoyed. So what was supposed to be in it?
It was absinthe and coffee liquor.
Which I really liked the idea of absinthe and coffee liqueur. And I totally get it, because it's a combination of the insanity combined with having to be awake. Which I actually really enjoyed.
And when you sent it to me, I was thinking about the flavors, because both flavors are very strong, kind of overwhelming flavors, right? And I was thinking, this is either going to go really well, or it's not. And then I was thinking about you telling me about science. That's how science often is.
That's exactly right.
That's true.
Exactly
It goes well.
It either goes well or goes horribly awry.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, I'm hoping that this one. All right. Well, so here's a good question. All right. This is so. when you think of drinks and you think of those flavors, all right. So flavors that you're thinking about coffee, right? Obviously from a coffee liqueur, and the absinthe has normally the dominant note, right, is kind of a licorice,
Yeah.
an anisey type of flavor. So what's your first thought when you think about those two together?
Of coffee and licorice?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, so like the Italians, right? Like Sambuca and coffee and improved coffee, right? So this was my immediate thought. So I actually, when I thought about it, I was like, actually, this is kind of brilliant. I think this is going to work. People are already drinking this, but just differently. I just need to stretch it out a little bit.
Oh.
And so my second thought, actually, whenever I came to this, was well, maybe the other drink for some reason, because I was thinking about, so it's going to be bitter, it's going to be a little sweet, going to have some licoricey flavors. I was thinking, this is a Sazerac.
Well, that's what so I'm not sure if that is a lemon peel that's in it.
It is a lemon peel in
that's
it.
what I was thinking, is that it's garnished with lemon peel because you're going the Sazerac.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
because this is basically the same flavor profile. So,
Well, and it smells a bit like a Sazerac,
yeah.
too.
Well, let's go ahead and taste it and
All
see
right.
what it tastes like.
Okay.
It's revolting. No, it's delicious. I mean,
I was really hoping that was actually truly what you. I was
is
really
just
hoping
horrible.
that was. I was.
you spent 7 minutes explaining this. It's just not good.
I am now.
You're supposed to drink it in the middle of 72-hour beam time as well, when everything just seems better. It just everything's funny. First of all, like it's easy to get amused when you've
Absolutely,
been up
yeah. When you've been up for that
Yeah.
long, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and everything tastes good. Exactly, yeah. Well, so does it meet with? Do you feel like this tastes like the 72-hour beam time feels?
I can imagine. Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, excellent.
People say that lack of sleep makes me high. Because I do think everything's funny.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like it. I like it. That must make you slightly less effective as an advisor at that moment.
Perhaps. It doesn't bother me that much. People have seen me sing Disney songs in the middle of the night.
I actually also really liked the thing that's really that's really funny about those beam times too is that when you've been in them for a while, because again, often you can be doing night shift, things like this, and they often at least for instance in the one in Chicago don't have any windows in them, and so you really lose a complete sense of time. And so I kind of like this because I thought this is the kind of drink that you can drink anytime. So it's fine. You'll be fine either way. There's some coffee in it if it's the morning. There's some liquor in it if it's at night. So,
yes, at your next beam time.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
When you first sent me the name, and you sent the ingredients, and then you sent me the name, and I had no idea what it was, and I didn't Google it because I figured I wouldn't understand it. So I thought it was a Star Trek thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah,
and it turns out it's not.
It's not a Star Trek.
It's
thing.
not at all.
No, it's not even close. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a Star Trek thing.
Well,
though.
I was hoping that it would be, because that would then at least make me feel like I was included more in the conversation, but that's not what happened.
You got a drink out of it. You can't complain too much.
No, it's a gross drink, but
I was really hoping that you were actually serious with that, and you were just going to then spend the next minute laying into me about how terrible this drink was, because that would have been that'll be a really good episode when we get there, actually.
well, and we will at some point.
No, that's guaranteed.
Yeah, because there's going to be something that's in it that I will not find appealing.
Exactly.
Like you're going to go on like a smoked paprika phase, and
how'd you guess?
Right.
Actually, that's the next drink. Actually, maybe that will be the next drink will be actually this will be actually maybe a future episode will be my desire to try to create a drink that I find. Is there singing going on?
yeah, there's something going on at a fraternity house nearby.
Oh,
Is that singing or screaming or?
There was some weightlifting earlier, and there was some yelling, and now there's something else.
I like
Yeah.
it. Well, listen, you can't be in the ivory attic without some fraternity brothers singing and screaming,
Dog
nearby.
barking.
But yeah, I think maybe a future challenge will be for me to create a drink that I really like and the guest really likes, but that absolutely revolts you.
It won't be that hard to do.
No, I actually just have to champagne based. I think would actually do it.
Oh yeah, that would just make me angry.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But that's more of a chemical thing. That's not.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, maybe we won't
the
do
bubbles,
that
the fizz, just caused me a lot of sadness.
a lot of anger. Yeah. Well, excellent. Do we have anything else?
I don't think we have anything else
Great.
except to say thank you so much for
Wonderful.
being on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. And Ian, I think you could tell everybody if they want to get in touch with us and give us any feedback, how are they going to do it?
Well, you can email us at mail@theivoryattic.com. That is mail@theivoryattic.com. You can also get in touch with us through our Facebook page, which is The Ivory Attic, or you can through Instagram, again, ivory.attic, or you can through Twitter, which we're not very good at. But and if you say mean things about us, we will just ignore. But we're Twitter at Ivory Attic Hosts.
At Ivory Attic Hosts. That sounds great to me. And then it'd be great if you could, every one of you, go. We also would love to get some reviews.
Yeah, if you would review and subscribe.
And get your friends too. That'd
With
be
as
great
many
too.
stars as you can.
Exactly. As many stars as you can put in there.
As many as you
would
can.
Be great.
Yes, and the more generous you are, the happier we'll be.
Exactly. That's where true generosity lies.
That's it.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. So from the Ivory Attic, I'm Kurt Andreessen.
And I'm Ian Isherwood, and thank you for helping us rummage through the attic.